What role do you think energy efficiency plays in the revitalization of our economy?
Energy efficiency is an important role in the revitalization of our economy. Already stimulus funds have gone to a lot of the community action agencies around the state to allow for weatherization, because the cleanest energy is the energy that's not used. And one of the things that I've proposed to do in terms of an urban initiative is to take HUD dollars and there's a number of different proposals on how to use the HUD dollars, but specifically when it comes to this issue is in some of the HUD housing, actually have residents working with labor organizations, getting some of the training that they can provide in the apprenticeship programs, and doing some of the weatherization themselves to promote job growth, but also energy efficiency at the same time.
What role do you think that energy efficiency plays in revitalizing our economy?
You know, the CEO of Duke Energy, Jim Rogers, wrote an article a couple years ago that said that the most efficient fuel in America is not wind, it's not solar, it's not geothermal or biofuels. It is energy efficiency. It is indispensable to our energy portfolio. So that is why I've called for spending much of the unspent economic recovery funds, often called stimulus funds, on home weatherization, because you get two things. You get to create jobs for people who can do the work. You create curricula in community colleges and other places that actually train them. And you move that much faster to a clean energy economy. So energy efficiency, absolutely indispensable, and perhaps the single most important fuel that is renewable and advanced that we could possibly have.
All right, please list the top 5 issues that you want to address on the national level that you could not at the state level.
The stimulation of jobs often can come from things like third frontier money, which are bond issues, and hopefully the legislature will agree to get that on the ballot. But there has been quite a bit of money set aside in the stimulus bill, some of which hasn't been used, some of which has been paid back, that could be brought into the states, for instance, to pump directly into infrastructure jobs, which are some of the quickest ways to get people working again. That is one issue where that kind of money is not available at the state level. Second of all, I wrestled with this issue about where we could best be effective in prison reform, and I've come to the conclusion that it would be at the federal level, because in 2004 even, and I know the number's gone up, 3% of our adult population in the United States was either incarcerated or under some form of supervision. And that's just unheard of when you compare it to Western European countries. And I know that prison often does not entail real rehabilitation, and it's necessary when a person is going to harm themselves or someone in the community. But so much of the money for rehabilitation and corrections comes from the federal government, and the federal government is able to tie those, is able to put ties on that money to making reforms in that area. Third would be and this is a sort of a radical idea, and I think a person could do it better from the Congress than they could as governor. But when you look at governments like we have in Ohio, and we look at all the political subdivisions and the overlap, we need to start regionalizing. And one of the ways that I saw this happen in social services was to force different agencies to collaborate across different disciplines. They would require that to apply for the grants, they had to come together and collaborate. The same type of thing could be done from the federal level, where we start to have some blending of resources between areas of the state, which will save money and overall better address the needs of the people of Ohio.
Please list the top 5 issues that you're looking forward to working on at the federal level that you really couldn't work on at the state level.
Okay. Number 1, the federal job creation tax credit. As Director of Economic Development, I've worked with the state job creation tax credit and see how effective it is to actually give incentives to businesses to create jobs. It works. Number 2, I would say research and development tax credits, because if we're looking out into the future, the easiest and the best and the smartest way to move to a clean energy economy is to give tax incentives to businesses, to collaborate with universities, do the necessary research, do the necessary development. That is how we will compete with countries around the world. Number 3, I would say that the backbone of America today is small business. My grandparents ran a small business. My wife ran a small business. She was a small business commissioner. I lived my whole life with small business. And today, healthy, or I should say not healthy, but strong, good people running businesses that have never missed a payment can't get a loan. And that is wrong. So I want to work on the federal level, just as the governor and I are working as we speak on the state level, to do everything we can to make sure that banks, especially those who have gotten bailout funds, but all banks, but especially those, recognize their responsibility to get loans out to the door to responsible business owners and responsible homeowners who are at the risk of not being able to keep their home or business because those banks are keeping the money because they want to be more capitalized than they were before. The 4th thing is to focus on foreclosures. Many ways, the American dream is epitomized not by a car, but by a home, a roof overhead. And making sure that we not only give judges the power to modify these mortgages, but that we use federal funds, the Neighborhood Stabilization Program funds, to go to communities that have been devastated by this. This is an insidious problem that unfortunately is not getting better fast enough. And then, I don't know how many I've done, to be honest. But
Well, your time's up.
my time's up. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, since I have to do 5, a new consumer and financial regulation agency that makes sure we never get into this mess again.
What are you going to do to keep jobs in Ohio and not let them move to Mexico or India?
Well, this reminds me of the choice that we have. Rob Portman, as George W. Bush's trade advisor, pushed trade policies as the chief architect of those policies and actually helped create financial incentives for companies to ship jobs overseas and to keep them there. That's wrong. I believe that we have to engage in the global economy. Our Ohio Department of Development has 14 international offices, and I've been privileged to go to Japan and Russia on behalf of our administration to lure jobs here. But I believe you export goods and you insource jobs. Rob Portman often boasts how exports went up when he was trade advisor. And you know what? He's right. But they were exports of jobs, not goods. Bottom line is we should create incentives like the job creation tax incentive that I mentioned earlier, to provide incentives for businesses to create jobs here in America and eliminate the incentives to create jobs outside of America.